Marfoogle News going live in 3. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. We've got a lot to go over in a short amount of time, so let's get into it. So sleeper cells, we've talked about this all week. In fact, the day before every mainstream came out and said this, we were saying the obvious, which we've followed this for years. We've talked about the potential for sleeper cells since, the last administration and the 4 years of just people coming in like crazy. Not to mention the odd property bought by our bases and everything else. We've talked about China and Iran and Russia this entire time. Well, of course, then mainstream media comes out and says it. Then, of course, you've got Homeland Security actually stating that it is actually higher now than it was before. Meanwhile, everybody's thinking it's a peacetime, right? That, they just declared peace and it's all over. That is literally putting 100% faith in the president, which I don't blame people for being optimists, and I hope that the president is right. But if you look at the Ministry of Defense from Iran, they posted 2.5 hours ago, 16 minutes after the beginning of the 24-hour period, it said that as Iran has repeatedly made clear, Israel launched war on Iran, not the other way around. As of now, there is no agreement on any ceasefire or cessation of military operations. But then get this. It says, however, provided that Israel regime stops its illegal aggression against the Iranian people no later than 4 a.m. Tehran time, we have no intention to continue our response afterwards. The final decision on the cessation, again, they don't say ceasefire, the cessation, basically stopping of our military operations, will be made later. Now, this is essentially saying, well, if they stop, we'll stop. That's why the actual ceasefire is the first 6 hours, Israel will stop. After 6 hours, they haven't done any actions. Neither party has done anything. Then at 12 hours, Iran will stop. Then at 24 hours, all of this will happen. The reason why the president is so confident, I'm assuming, is because he trusts Netanyahu and he's talking to him and he's saying, okay, so you aren't going to do anything. But that's not leaving any room for Fantastic Freddy. That's not leaving room for Israel doing some sort of Fantastic Freddy. That's not leaving any room for a Fantastic Freddy being done by Iran. For us to have peace, it is not already done. He's talking about it in past tense, because that's how he does it. He's a positive, confident. He'll sell you an ice cube. He's good at it. And this is not a bad thing. But at the same time, it does not mean that we just take it for a fact right away, because honestly, it writes out exactly what it says in his truth post, that this has conditions, and the conditions are not met yet. So we will talk about that tonight on tonight's show. We're going to talk about the sleeper cells, again, now higher risk than ever. So, yeah, and then a buildup in the Pacific, yet we're supposedly going to have a bunch of peace, and we're all going to have a summer of love again. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It's Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. So actually, I saw a great comment in the chat, and I don't think I actually would have let that fly. So first of all, the comment says, Marf is upset we might not have World War III. I exceptionally skeptical. No, and I'm okay with you having your opinion. So here's one thing that I will have to say to that. I'm not going to be unhappy if we don't have an EMP hit us. I'm not going to be unhappy if my kids aren't going to have to survive. I have 4 kids. If you really think that I want World War III, then you're smoking something. But as far as I'm not ignorant. I don't think that all of this just goes away just because, everything, we had some sort of great deal. If you know your history on Iran and Israel, then you know that this isn't over. This is at pause at best. Everybody is literally thinking that this is peaceful. I'm sorry, I'm not the only one that's sitting here going, yeah, this is really suspicious. You've got, of course, a surprise attack that happened, did something unthinkable, and I think maybe it was a surprise. And I think that maybe they were not ready for it. But what can they do when they're pinned down by the U.S. and Israel? If they do a ceasefire and everything goes back to normal for a minute, they might be able to continue planning something else. I think that maybe the pressure he put on, and maybe he did something that they really did not think that they would do. And that is the crazy part about this. Now, meanwhile, if you want to take face value for the things that are being said and just be, obey, consume, eat, drink, then go ahead. But I'm not going to see the front page and go, oh, now it's okay. They told us it's okay. Everything is fine. There's no World War III anymore. Well, wouldn't it be under the same logic? Why are you saying it's World War III the second they say it's World War III? Again, we've been saying this for 5-6 years. We don't change our opinion on the dime. We don't go up and down and up and down and up and down. We're complacent the whole time because we're preppers. We understand the possibility of a war and we're prepping for it. That's why it's really important to have these things planned out. There's avoidable perishings, right? There's people that perish from the stupidest things that are completely avoidable. One of the most avoidable things is, prepping for storms that happen every year, or prepping for an earthquake that everyone says is absolutely going to happen. These things are avoidable perishings if you can do a couple things and survive it. Food and water is one of the most important things, and we are literally taking everything for granted. Our power grid, our internet, our communications, our transportation, our system in general, our supply chain. Everybody is taking this for granted, and we're thinking that we've got a hero in office. Again, I have a lot of things positive, and I fully agree with almost everything that is being said right now. But again, I'm not going to think that this is just all going to go away. I'm not disillusioned by this media. I mean, all it is media. They're putting out statements saying everything is fine. How do people believe that so quickly? How do people just jump on that? There's conditions under this ceasefire that are not met yet. And not to mention, every last time, and I've had people say the same thing about the peace talks with Ukraine, the peace talks with between North and South Korea, the peace talks as far as their agreements not to do this and this and this, the peace talks with, of course, Iran and Israel. Every time this happens, it gets put off or something happens to screw it up, and people are thinking that the 25th time is the charm. I don't believe it. And I think that the long term will tell. So things like that, I don't even see it. Let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Fugle fam. I'm doing just fine. Hey, grab the article I just put up up next, and this also talks about that tweet from the foreign minister, but it also talks about the timing and the fact that there are missiles being launched, as others are saying. This is coming from AP,
which we were trying to verify,
right? But again, this one's saying that time frame was 4 a.m. local time today, Tuesday, which it is Tuesday, even though it's Monday here, it's Tuesday there.
But that's on Israel's side.
It said Iran's foreign minister said as long as Israel stopped its attacks by 4 a.m. local time, Tehran, Tuesday. That's what the AP is reporting. But then they turned around and said, if you look, they also said, though, that it's unclear because now missiles have been detected and launched after the ceasefire timeline. But if you go back to how Trump outlined the ceasefire, he said Iran would have to stop first, right? And approximately 6 hours from now, when
we
Israel
backwards.
and Iran have wound down, final mission for 12 hours, at which point the war will be considered ended. Officially, Iran will start the ceasefire, and upon the 12th hour, Israel will start the ceasefire, and upon the 24th hour. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I had it backwards. So that whole last video. So then that's crazy. If they did a ceasefire, I think it would work. If it would sound like it would work better if the first 6 hours that Israel didn't do anything, then Iran agrees at the 6th hour to do it. But no, it's Iran, and they're firing missiles after that. This is what I'm saying. People immediately, all day today. This is why I waited on this. I saw this morning. First of all, I watched it live as they said that they struck the bases, and I'm thinking the worst thoughts in my brain. I'm thinking, but we need to wait. We need to see what happens and if they actually strike. And they did say one hit, but then they said 13 missiles, 14, that nobody was seriously bad injured and all of this. But it's like I knew to wait because something about this whole thing just seems so immediate, so instant, and so confident. And we're dealing with countries that never works with. We've done 6 weeks, 8 weeks of peace talks, and then all of a sudden, it's just going to happen in one day after they took out the nuclear fission. Remember, there was a bunch of trucks that left those nuclear plants all day, the entire day before it happened. In fact, a week before it happened, they were, trucking stuff out. Maybe they've got enough for a couple of nuclear missiles, and maybe they're like, okay, we'll ceasefire. So they're not being watched 24/7 or being pinned down and their skies controlled. They have their internet off too. Remember that. So maybe they're trying to save face, and maybe people are right. I don't think so though. Dex, go ahead.
Well, I mean, is this a quick setup to sort of show that the West was willing to ceasefire and Iran wanted to continue? So that gets them now the opportunity just to tell the world, get off our back. We're going to keep going after Iran now.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. We gave them a chance in the 6 hours, and they blew it. Netanyahu's going to do an announcement. He's going to get up on a pedestal. He's going to say, we gave them 6 hours. This is what we told the world. We told the world that, we said we stopped firing. Within 15 minutes into the ceasefire, they started firing at our hospitals. I do kind of sound like him, huh? But, that's what I'm saying. People are so quick to just go flip-flop, flip-flop. I've been saying this for years, and the reason I've been saying it for years is there's hardcore fundamental patterns underneath all of this that says that we are heading towards these wars. We are guaranteed a war with China. There's no way around it. If you please do some history, not just look into the American history, look into Chinese history. There's a lot there that can be found. The reason why they're doing what they're doing and the scary goals that they have are not going to go away with Xi. Even if Xi dies, somebody else is going to pick up that mantle because they're working with... They are one of the only countries that was in a box, essentially, that were self-contained for all of these years throughout everything. People say they're not experienced with war. What they are experienced with is having the same kinds of systems all the way through back over 1,000 years. So they have the same kind of cultural setup. They want to do this. With Iran, Russia, North Korea, Cuba, Venezuela, all of these parties found that they all have a very, very similar goal as far as what they want. And they know that they cannot get that done with the Western nations in their way. They are being held down by the big guy. And most of us agree with that because we don't want dictators. We don't want, communist parties ruling us. But at the same time, that does not mean that they're going to give up. So I am absolutely, I'm even more sure that something bigger is happening right now, especially with this ceasefire. I'm not going to, put my weapons in my holsters yet. Dex, let's talk about the Americans issued worldwide travel warning after Iran strikes.
Well, yeah. So now, in addition to the what was said about the sleepers being at the highest, has never been higher. The threat of that in America. Obviously, that threat is happening around the world, which also means Americans and Westerners, but Americans in particular, coming from the State Department, are going to be targets. And so they issued a worldwide caution alert for Americans traveling abroad. So this is just a general alert. Just leaving the country, you need to be concerned now. So obviously, in locations where traveling to the Middle East, it's going to be much worse, much higher threat level. But yeah, that's the issue coming out from the Department of State.
When right before when they started moving the drone defenses to defend our troops in the Middle East, I said that this was going to, I believe that they were going to do some sort of strike and that the strike would come soon. People said, no. This Sunday they have a peace talk. It's all going to be, what are you talking about? They even quoted Trump, Trump said that he will tell Netanyahu before he can strike. And Netanyahu said that he wouldn't strike until Trump said so. He goes, so it's not going to happen until after they talk on Sunday and make sure that the negotiations aren't going to go through. Of course, don't forget that, Ali Khamenei came out and said, like, these aren't going where we want, that the president's rude. The president does not like insults or anything like that. I mean, look at how he talks to other people. He always talks friendly. If somebody talks mean to him or says he's rude, he takes offense to that. So maybe that's what changed it. But I knew that day, and people said, oh, no, they won't do it until this and this and this happens. And of course, then it happened. We said, hey, they're going to start watching about sleeper cells. It's obvious, especially with how many people came in the last 4 years. If you don't know the numbers, go look at the numbers. It's insane. And a percentage of those are sleeper cells. Not out of the movie, not some sort of, subliminal message triggers them and they change like, in some sort of TV show. These are real agents that are essentially trained military members that will do events and that are absolutely into their cause, that absolutely want to do harm to our country. That is real. People are so confused about what's real, what's fake, what's Ganda, what's not. But all you have to do is talk to some of the folks that are even here. They're not closed about it. When they do their parades and marches, I've gone down and I've videotaped some of these things when they do their big events. They don't like us at all. There's a good chunk that just absolutely hate us. They would rather that we're not here. So that's my opinion anyways. And again, with this, it's like they're doing all of this. And with the signs, it was easy to tell that something was happening. Even though we're told that there's peace, they were moving defenses around. They were shipping this here. They were moving planes and different cargo planes and things like that. And you could tell. Well, now, even though we're having peace, they're telling us that the attacks from sleeper cells are the highest likely right now. And they're telling worldwide travel warnings, saying essentially after this is kind of blowing up, they're saying that, everybody needs to be very, very cautious traveling the world. So something doesn't fit. If the glove doesn't fit, then Iran won't quit. That actually kind of works. And then power.
He just posted like just a few minutes ago. Wow.
Who?
Like 3 minutes ago. Trump.
What did he say?
We couldn't have made today's deal without the talent and the courage of our great B-2 pilots and all those associated with the operations. Acting like nothing's happening, like everybody's commenting in there, except 3 people have perished and they're still bombing.
Well, maybe he's right. Maybe he's right and the media is wrong. I sure hope so. Maybe he's telling the truth and they're lying. I would be more encouraged that the media is lying.
I think it's a setup.
I
think it's a total setup.
Something seems way off.
Yeah, just to give us validation to go in further and more than just an airstrike.
I think you're right. And then Dex, talk about the power outage that just hit Queens.
Yeah. So on the home front, we warned everybody, gosh, at least a month and a half ago, that you're going to start to see the power grids run out of power because of the heat that's coming this summer. And of course, now the heat wave's officially affecting the regions. Some places are seeing high temperatures. Well, one of those areas that's running out of power is Queens. And apparently they had power blackouts hitting parts of Queens. And Con Edison is urging energy conservation because of the high temperatures. So yeah, it's not a lot. It's a small area, but it's a signal. Like, you should start to pay attention to this. This is one of the problems we have as a country, is we have not increased our power generation. We have not, significantly grown the amount of power we've created. Now, Trump recently changed some regulations and reduced the regulations to make it easy to roll out more nuclear power plants. And I think even New York is going to be building a new plant, a gigawatt location. But the easiest thing to have done would have been solar. But the problem is that just puts us deeply in bed with China, because they make 90-something% of all of it. So we would be sitting like Spain and everyone else with more dependency on products from China that probably have back doors that can be taken out more easily. So yeah, we're in for some rough times, and this should just be the sort of the shot across the bow, or the warning sign that while it's just a small area, I know there's a lot of people in Queens, but you should pay attention that this is going to be sort of the norm, and it's not just in New York. It's going to be across a lot of the areas across the U.S. as the summer continues to go on, and the power demand we're not going to be able to meet the amount that is needed.
Yeah, and as far as when you talk about customers too, they did this during Texas. Because everybody's like, well, those numbers are kind of light. They said there's so many out, but a customer could be an entire apartment complex. So again, that's how from their end they manage it. It could be an entire Costco. It could be an entire this. It could be an entire that. Those are
in Queens. Customers. It could be a high-rise building of apartments. Lots of them. Yep.
So again, they as far as when they look at it from the outage percentage, what I was told is that when it's a high-rise, they look at that high-rise as the one line going into it from their end. From their end, they get billed for every little customer using power, but essentially that goes into one line, right? They manage and they look at how much power each unit is using out of that big kind of main line. So that could be tens of thousands. All right, and then Jake Malone says the knockout punch is coming and the world isn't seeing it. Jake Malone, I 1,000% agree with you. That's my opinion. And I know everybody doesn't see it. And you know what's crazy is I've had people agree with me, then disagree with me, then agree with me, then disagree. And their opinion is based on what they're seeing in the current day-to-day news. I see it in an overall long-term thing. It's like it's a train that's coming. It's that forklift, or it's the steamroller in Austin Powers. I know all of you guys are old enough to know this. You're not my 19-year-old daughter who is like, Austin who? It's the steamroller that's coming, and you're just screaming like, ah! It's like, it's easy to see for me, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope all of us are. Before we move on, make sure to go check out EMP Shield. Again, I know that a lot of people overlook this, but something like this could be the difference between you getting home to your family or getting stuck 20 miles from home. This could mean the difference of being stuck at home in the city and not being able to bug out. It could mean the difference of your generator turning on after a EMP strike or a Carrington level event. This device protects you against both. It is made by EMP Shield. Again, this is the same company and same technology that is outfitting agencies like FBI, DHS, DOD, the DEMSO team. And they are now protecting the Texas grid as well. So there's nowhere in the U.S. where you are not most likely nearby this technology and this company. But again, those are going up to protect their infrastructure. And if you look at every major event from Hurricane Katrina to North Carolina to California to Hawaii, you know that, again, they could be up and running, but that doesn't mean that you are. And that does not mean that they're going to help you first. Heck, in Hurricane Katrina, the police left their stations. They're like, hey, I've got to go save my mom out of a nursing home. So when a big disaster happens and they keep talking about cyber events and things like this, I would highly recommend getting something like this, because this is going to protect you against two of the more probable events: a Carrington level event from the sun and an EMP strike from any adversary, any backpack device, or any major country grid down scenario. The people that go, oh, it won't help because the grid will be down anyways. If you have generators, solar, or gas, then you can continue to do it. If it's fried, it doesn't matter how many generators you have if they're all fried. It doesn't matter how many cars you have if they're fried. It doesn't matter if you get the power back on or if you have backup power or gas saved up. If your car is fried, it's fried. So again, marfooglenews.com/EMP. Make sure to use code MARF. You're going to get $50 off per device and get a discount on multiples. So make sure to go check the timing of when you're watching this video. So go check it out, marfooglenews.com/EMP. Beijing's massive buildup raises threat of Taiwan Strait conflict. As far as the timing goes, Dex, there is a smaller and smaller window. We're getting closer and closer to this window where China has to act at this point.
Yeah, certainly. So, Beijing, this is coming from the NATO Secretary General. He's warning that the massive buildup is actually increasing the threat of a conflict across the Taiwan Strait, which will draw Russia in and thus draw in European forces. So he's basically, I guess, sort of hinting that, Taiwan is going to be or NATO will be involved when that happens with Taiwan. So that's kind of a big shift in some of the conversations that have been happening from NATO side, but not totally unexpected because we've seen Japan in the cooperation with NATO and even encouraging a Pacific version or of NATO like that.
Yeah, at first they called it Asian NATO. I think it's still the Trilateral Alliance, right? But they're essentially,
right.
This whole thing is you now have NATO talking about the China part of this, which I've been saying this whole time. It's all connected. This is a world war. They're not going to call it the World War. In fact, during World War I, they didn't even call it World War I because, first of all, it was World War I. There was no II. But they called it the Great War. That's what they called it. And you didn't hear in World War II, it wasn't called World War II until 1944, the very end of 1944, where the first, headlines started coming out and saying World War II. We look at it back as that now. But what do you call when you have all of these countries all lining up, all signing treaties, all doing every kind of aligning and literally splitting down the middle? You've got the Eastern and the Western alliances. That's the world. Pretty much every country in the world is involved in some fashion or the other, if not with an actual fighting force, but with BRICS. And you've got all of it splitting down the middle. And it's not an exact middle either. A lot of people don't realize how many parties are actually jumping ship. I mean, that's kind of scary, to be honest. But yeah, the NATO chief pointed to several Chinese defense companies ranking among the world's top arms makers in arguing that Beijing's expansion has reached levels that were never before seen. This is after a week and a half ago, you had two of their carriers for the first time passing the island defense line. Those same islands, the Guams, the other islands that were jungles from World War II that they're cleaning up. Yeah, they've passed that. They're chilling out in the Pacific. They're going out all the way out there. They're going and floating around Japan. They're doing things they've never done before. They're creating a system to have all of these drop ships drop down and even daisy chain like a human centipede all the way up to the beaches. They're practicing on ports and on in bays that look like American bays. They're practicing taking out our carriers in the desert. And people didn't see this coming for years and years and years. I don't understand it. And then, by the way, thank you, Joseph W. Matt 24/5. They will deceive many. Wars and rumors of wars. Again, I hope that it's all just rumors, right? And then Melanie White, thank you. God's Soldier 56. Hello, Adam and Dex. I'm just fine. Hey, thank you, and appreciate the support. Thank you for supporting Independent. Thank your mods, by the way. They're doing an awesome job in the chat. Bobby Sue, Chance, thank you. Again, thank you, everybody that has already gotten in here. Ilea, if you're here yet or if you're not, I know you've got your hands full. And then thank you, Captain Apana, Christian Mercier, Kathy, again, mahalo, and aloha. Mary Gunn, there's so much going on. I'm too old for this. I don't blame you. Sharon Lynn, none of this makes any sense. Was it even T-Man at the podium talking? I don't know. I assume so. And then I don't know which one you're talking about. And then Itchy Under, Thank you, Bobby Sue, and thank you, Chance. Hey, thank you, RTube. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. That's what I'm saying. People drink the Kool-Aid the second that it changes. I would go with your gut. Don't go with the media. Unless your gut says that, we're all going to melt into a different dimension at 4 o'clock tomorrow. But, most of you have a good gut. And then Dex, funny timing, while everything's going on, apparently Zelensky, they were trying to take out Zelensky and it failed.
Well, that or he's trying to get some relevancy. So in order to become relevant in the news that is of nothing around Ukraine at the moment, apparently Zelensky we're being told he was the target of a plot to take him out that was going to be carried out by a Polish military pensioner, meaning a retired military person, who had first been recruited by Soviet Russia decades ago. Soviet Russia. I mean, that's a long time ago. The head of the country's internal security agency said. So apparently they recruited this guy decades ago, and they were letting him loose just recently to take care of him. And it's from Poland. So Lieutenant General Vasyl Maluk, head of Ukraine's SBU, detailed the alleged plot in a closed briefing with the Ukraine media. Maluk said the Polish man was activated by Russia with a plan to take out Zelensky at Poland's Rzeszów airport using either a first-person view drone or a sniper rifle. So that's the report. They said he was captivated by the Soviet ideals, but they, long story short, they foiled the efforts. The plot was foiled, and it was a joint effort between the SBU and the Polish Internal Security Service, the ABW. So Zelensky has been saved.
Yeah, they actually have a clip of him right after he squashed the attempt. Yeah, it does look a little odd, doesn't it? Yeah, this was him right after he beat that guy up. He's obviously doing well. He looks healthy. And then we have Musk wants Grok AI to rewrite the entire corpus of human knowledge. Dex, I'll actually let you cover this one too. This one was interesting, and I honestly think that a lot of things like this are going to get glazed over because of what's going on, but it's pretty crazy.
Well, yeah. So he is frustrated with the output of the AI systems and how basically they're trained on the information that's been made and published available to them, obviously from sources like Wikipedia and books and newspapers and a lot of mainstream newspapers and articles over the along with everything else, right? But what he struggles with is that he doesn't like the fact that there's a lot of what he calls garbage and uncorrected data that's coming out of the AI system. In other words, if something has been known to be debunked and you ask it about it, and it still acts like it hasn't, like it's still talking facts of something that's not necessarily true, or at least not true in his belief, or a lot of beliefs of others. And I'm sure there are plenty of people on either sides. When I say sides on this one, it's people that like Elon and people that don't like Elon. And even though that may go down party lines, it also goes within party lines too. So, but some people are sort of frustrated that he's trying to do this because they're saying he just doesn't like the history that's in there, so he wants to rewrite the history. But he goes on to say, we will use Grok 3.5, or maybe we should call it 4, which has advanced reasoning to rewrite the entire corpus of human knowledge, adding missing information and deleting errors, then retrain on that. So far too much garbage in any foundation model trained on uncorrected data. So basically saying they're going to use AI to sort of rewrite the information that it uses to train itself. And by doing that and going through and updating information to clean up a lot of the errors and misinformation that has been plagued, as you might say, in the information that's currently training the AI models. So, yeah, his critics are, basically saying, you don't like what it doesn't align to your personal beliefs, so you're just going to rewrite history to make it conform to your views. Of course, making all sorts of references to 1984. So plenty of people that are detracting it. Now, what I would say is, and not to argue for or against this, but he's not saying he's rewriting history. He's basically saying he's rewriting the way the AI system consumes the history information that is there.
Well, isn't it trained on internet crap that gets soaked in there? So somebody's blog might get put in there, and then it's looking at the sheer numbers and then looking at the debunks of that, and then basing it on that and saying, well, this has been said, because it always
I mean, if it's basing everything off of a Snopes, or a Snopes debunk, and then we know that a lot of those have been debunked, right? So what's it basing it on?
Yeah, it's using this huge breadth of knowledge, but you have all this other crap. If it's on the internet, it's true, mixed in. And then, would you hail a robotaxi? Musk is now, again, launching the cabs. There was previous times where they tried to launch, they didn't, and after 4 years, they are now actually launching. Promised in 2019 that driverless Tesla robotaxis would be on the road next year, but it didn't happen. A year later, and then, CV happened and all that. Promised the deliver them the next year, despite the empty pledges and promises kept coming. Last year in January, Musk said next year for sure we'll have over 1 million robotaxis. Would you settle for 10 or 12? Musk appears to be on the verge of making his robotaxi's vision a reality with the test run of a small squad of self-driving cabs in Austin, Texas that began Sunday. Now, I've actually seen videos of these already. What was it? Supercar Barbie actually took one of these Tesla cabs, and it's going to be crazy because it's like, you had Uber kill the cab company, and now you're going to have robo-taxis kill the Uber company. It's like radio killed, or video killed the radio star, right? I think this is all bad. Do people not realize one thing at a time, just human beings are getting replaced? And what do you think the very, very top of the elite that already have all of their money, that have generational wealth, what do you think they, think about? They're thinking about how can we just essentially rule out, after we have power. All they care about is power. They don't care about money. Most of them, once they have so much money, they don't care about money anymore. They care about power. That's why I believe they want to set up a system that there won't be a currency, but there will be some sort of power structure, right? I mean, what do you do when there are no jobs? When there is a robot for everything? When there is no menial jobs? There's no minimum wage? I mean, it's almost like Star Trek, where they don't need a currency for money. These robo-taxis, people have said, it's a little bit of getting ahead of yourself. How so? How many jobs are going to get replaced in the next 5 years? That's terrifying to me. Like, are we not thinking ahead? Dex, go ahead.
Well, while I agree with you on that point, I look at other points too. Like I had this perfect example. I would love to have a senior citizen that needed to come to my house about an hour and a half away that can drive, but they really shouldn't be driving. And it would have been nice if we had a system in place where people that are incapable of driving can actually get somewhere. And we do have that today. It's just very expensive.
In their own car.
Or in a, paying $4.20 to drive an hour and a half.
Uber.
Because, an Uber is going to cost them hundreds of dollars to go an hour and a half, if not much more. Where in a model like this, they can probably take an hour and a half drive for a few dollars. Matter of fact, he was putting out flat fees for $4.20, obviously pun intended, because he likes the 420. But,
but he'll change that when it comes out.
I'm sure it will cost a little more than that, but when you take the human element out, the cost goes down. And if the cost goes down, does that provide transportation to millions more people that may not have transportation and can't get around? And does that solve other problems? And does that create other economies and create other opportunities?
Well, I for sure know a couple senior citizens that I'm absolutely terrified to drive in the passenger seat with them. They're called my family. And I agree with you on that. There are some cases where that would be extremely helpful. But think about how many people, I know probably 10 people that do Uber on the side to just make things work, to make ends meet. That will be gone. That's going to be gone. Why would you pay $25 for a ride when you could pay $4.20? I mean, heck, I wouldn't. And that's the thing. I know I'll probably take it too. Because if money gets so bad, the economy gets worse and worse and worse and worse, we're all going to do the cheapest thing. People could say, oh, well, I'm morally against it. But when it comes down to it, you have $10, you need $5 for food and $5 for transportation. You're going to take the $5 transportation and not $10 transportation and take a bus. I mean,
there's so many people that have like $800 a month car payments because they think it's important to have these and cars are expensive today too, right? But imagine how many drives you can get if you're just paying per use of what you need, right? With that $800, you might be able to get all of the drives you need and have money left over. And you don't have to maintain a car. You don't have to own a car. And I know I'm talking the contrarian view to many people, and I personally want to drive my own car. I definitely don't want to drive the car my wife's driving because I'm a better driver and I can't stand it. I'd much rather sit in a car that's driving itself than have her drive. No offense to my wife, but that's just the way it is. But I get it. I totally get it. I see it. Things will change, and there will be a whole lot of great things that this can do for us, and there's a whole lot of bad things that are going to come from it. And you gotta have to balance is the benefit better to society for the negative, or is the negative so much worse than the benefit we get?
I think short term it will be awesome. Long term, people aren't thinking about that. So let's just live for today, right? I think that it's going to replace all Uber. I think that it is immediate. I think it almost immediately overnight, you'll be like, what's Uber? Kids in 10 years from now, the teenagers will probably have invented a second Gen Z beta language. They'll all be going clonk 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 ding dong hype and vibing, and we won't even be able to understand them. And they'll be rolling around in robotaxis, and I'll say Uber, and they'll go, "What's that?" I mean, that's what's going to happen. And then the ceasefire, the questionable ceasefire. We'll talk about that here in a second. But we're getting more details as we've been on live. But I do want to remind you guys, if you do want to go check out freeze-dried food, if you've been looking into getting freeze-dried food, I would highly, highly recommend, again, going over and checking out My Patriot Supply. Again, this is one of the greatest sources for it because it is one of the most affordable packages as far as you can get a 3-month plan, about a third of the price than some of its competitors. And you are not only getting food that will last 25 years, but it is also going to keep in most of the flavor and, again, most of the nutrients. MarfoogleNews.com/prep. Again, that's MarfoogleNews.com/prep. They have all sorts of great different packages. You can get a 72-hour kit for a 3-day bag, or you can go all the way up. You could get a pallet of the stuff. It doesn't matter what you end up getting. It's going to be a better price. Once you look into getting a whole family, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months of food, which that is what's recommended, then you're going to quickly find out how much it is. And you're going to go, oh, well, is there a more affordable route on this? Again, they are able to keep a lot of costs low. Again, they do everything in-house. So again, make sure to go check out marfooglenews.com/prep. Again, marfooglenews.com/prep. You'll automatically get the discounts if you use that link, and you will help our channel out at the same time. So Dex, why don't I'm going to also pop over on X too and see if there's anything new. I know that we've kind of had a couple of folks come out. I mean, so everybody's saying, yeah, the ceasefire starts now, right? Well, because at the beginning of the show, it was about 7 a.m. Iran time. So it was about the beginning of this. But some are saying that 16 minutes into the ceasefire, Iran ended up firing after this happened, right? As far as the timing, if it was 10 minutes after, 30 minutes after, 50, whatever it may be. A lot of folks are talking about how they believe that this was done after the ceasefire. Don't know. But if that's the case, are they going to go, well, the first 10 minutes, maybe the memo didn't go out. We'll give them a break. I don't know. But
it certainly sounds like it's after. I mean, even according to the AP, they say the launches were after the 4 a.m. deadline, which is what they were claiming was coming from the foreign minister of Iran. In his message, they, again, did not want to comply with a ceasefire, but said if they weren't fired upon, then they wouldn't engage in returning anything, which is their nice way of saying we're going to comply with the ceasefire, but just not say we're going to comply with the ceasefire because we don't want to admit that we're agreeing to anything you want us to do. So yeah, do say it how you want to say it. Mince the words all you need to. That's what it's supposed to be, but it doesn't look that way. And I guess the real question comes is, does this fall into that category of the wind down? Although I think the 6 hours of wind down is long past. That should have been, I'm guessing by like midnight tonight. So maybe it's still, and it is midnight here on the East Coast. I'm looking at, when the president made that post, which was 6 p.m. So he said the wind down was 6 hours from now. So maybe they were getting their last volley in the wind down period. And maybe like you had said, and maybe the AP had it wrong, that 4 a.m. is 24 hours after that, which would be tomorrow, Wednesday, not Tuesday. And
it's confusing.
That's what they're waiting for. It's very confusing.
What if journalists are confused too?
They probably are.
It's weird how they wrote it.
Yeah, they probably are. It is very weird how they wrote it. But actually, he made the post at 6:02 p.m. Eastern time. And he says 6 hours from now is when the ceasefire will start, right? As when Israel and Iran will have wound down and completed their progress. Well, that was 18 minutes ago. So all of these launches that we've been talking about during the show fall within that wound down and complete their in progress final mission. So maybe they had a mission to launch these missiles and they weren't going to stop. And he's like, whatever, you've got 6 hours. So come midnight, don't do anymore. Okay, so now we're in the actual ceasefire period, and we'll have to see what happens. I know everybody likes to take that 4 a.m. thing from the foreign minister, but I think, Adam, when we were talking off air, you're probably right that 4 a.m. is 24 hours at the end, which is what Trump later said at the 24th hour.
But that was also because I was backwards too, though, because I thought it was Israel first, then Iran, which would have made more sense. The president could have actually said, Netanyahu, this was only going to work if you don't do anything for the first 6 hours. I mean, because a lot more people believe that, or don't believe, but that Israel would do something first before Iran, because Iran was technically the one getting, hurt more. They've got the Iron Dome, they've got barely anything's hit. So they stop attacking for 6 hours. Then Iran will go, okay, you guys are serious. We'll stop attacking back. Because they already had their nuclear stuff taken out. At this point, it's like they said they had full control over their skies. I mean, it would seem like if Israel did it for the first 6 hours, then Iran, then on the 12th hour, they both agree, that would have made more sense. But Iran stopping first?
Maybe he means the 12th hour as in midnight. I don't know why he wouldn't say midnight, but 6 hours from them is the 12th hour. 6 hours from the time he posted is the 12th hour. So if they both stop at the 12th hour and then go for 24 hours without starting up, then it's officially ended, is how one way you could word this. One way you could read this, I guess. But dude,
they should have put the document out so we could just look at the damn documents.
There isn't a document. This is a verbal. This is, at best Rubio
spitting a handshake.
Or if even better, maybe Trump got on the phone with somebody. I don't think he was talking to the Ayatollah, but he was probably talking to somebody there that was willing to make the deal. But for as much as they've been saying they didn't do it, and for as much as they've been saying they obliterated our base, but they didn't. Unless they did, and our media is covering it up and saying no, they didn't hit nothing. They took out 13 and 14 and let one go because it was heading into the desert, not hitting anything. I guess we just have to wait and see. And I think that's what really matters here is like what's going to happen in the next 24 hours, what's going to happen in the next 48 hours, because all of this can just fall apart as quickly as it ended. It can start on a dime. Okay, so it doesn't take much for this.
Look at how it's getting wrote. Look at this. Iran just broke the ceasefire this is how people take it, right? Iran just broke the ceasefire that President Trump brokered. So either way, it looks like, well, hey, the president did his part. He got a peace deal, and they just broke it. then everybody's going to go, well, now we do support this. They had the chance for peace, but they didn't take it. Iran has already violated it, right? So the president is going to be able to say, hey, I did my part. He's not going to look bad for it, right? I mean, this is all over the place. Everybody says they broke the ceasefire. I mean, it's pretty, but what are they basing it off of? The AP has came out and said it. So at the very least, we know that the very top of the mainstream media is agreeing with it. But this is why I just wait. This is why you don't take the body cam 2 minutes into a crime. You wait until you have the body cam. You don't judge what happened until you see the proof. Trust but verify, people were putting in the chat. Exactly. All those people, so nothing's going to happen now. It's a nothing burger, see? Just wait. It's going to go on a roller coaster. I bet it will be a couple more pieces before we get to this thing. It's not the end of the world. This is the start of World War III, which is not going to be called, everybody now calls it World War III because we've been ready for it for years, decades. But when it happens, we're not going to realize we're already in it. In history, this is already going to be put into the period of World War III. You've got all of these countries and their neighbors in this gridlock. We're already in World War III. It's just when it gets so big that people can't ignore it. When it gets so big that people are sending their sons and daughters off to war, that's when people are going to realize what this actually is. That's just my opinion, though. Let me hear yours in the comments down below. Thank you again, Sean, a.k.a. Red, for 25 months as a member. Thank you. God bless Adam, Dex Mods, and fellow Foogle fam. Melanie White, Joseph W., and God Soldier 56. I think you are the top supporter so far. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Dex, thank you so much for your service today. Appreciate it.
Much love. Great job, brother.
All right, guys, we will update you, and if there's an emergency, make sure to hit the notification bell to all and subscribe. Most of you are unsubscribed on this channel, so make sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to know about anything as it comes up. I would have done a 10 o'clock thing, but something told me, you go on at 10 o'clock, oh, they're attacking the bases. I knew when I was, right when I let Leah send it, the peace thing too, I'm like, something's not going to work out in this. I just know it. So we will cover it as it comes out. Make sure to subscribe, and thank you guys for being here. Thank you for supporting our small channel here. Thank you for giving us a chance if you're new. And make sure to get to know the community. They're absolutely awesome people. All right, you guys, much love. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It is now time for the outro. It's not a shout out. It's not a shout out. Wait, it's not a shout out. It's not an outro. It's a shoutro. Where I say thank you to the people that matter most. If you want to see the Marfoogle News short, all you have to do is click here.